Now, I need to ask you guys a question before I start, and I like using some of these parables just to increase an understanding for us. Let me ask this question. You guys know what a cart is, or a wheelbarrow? Let's say a wheelbarrow. So let's say we have four gentlemen, and these four gentlemen need to go to the market to carry some sacks, 40 kilogram sack of maize, 40 kilogram sack of maize. Now, each of them has a sack for themselves. Each guy has a 40 kilogram sack that is supposed to be carried for at least a distance of 2 kilometers. 2 kilometers, that is not a small distance. So out of the four guys, we have said each of them has a sack, 40 kilogram sack of maize to carry. One of the guys has a very large wheelbarrow or a cart, and, they have options here, okay? And those are the options that we want to look at here. Either each and every person to survive by themselves, each person to carry their own sack to take for the 2 kilometers distance from the market, maybe to another market, right? From the main wholesale market to a major retail market, okay? And so either the four of them, each person to carry it by themselves. That means the only one guy having a cart or a wheelbarrow might enjoy, but not so much, because at some point, a 40 kilogram sack is not a joke. His wheelbarrow might turn upside down, or his cart. Or they could decide that they sweet talk the guy with the wheelbarrow or the cart so that they could pile all the 40 kilogram sacks of maize on one cart. And so one person is going to be pulling, and the rest three guys are pushing. So I want to know from the floor, which one is easier? Which one is easier? Is it the individual way or the community way? Can someone tell me which one is going to be easier for these guys? Which one that makes work easier? Can someone respond to that?
Community way, I guess.
Thank you. Thank you. Guys, it's self-explanatory. It's the community. Let's commune. Let's come together. Let's put the unity together. What we call in Kenya, the Harambee spirit, the togetherness spirit. Let's come together. Let's pile the four sacks on the cart. Let one person be pulling the cart to give direction, and let all the other guys be pushing. Let all the other guys be pushing. Okay. So one person is pulling to give direction, and the other three are actually pushing. What that is going to ensure, obviously, is that all of us are going to reach a little bit less tired than if we all came with our sack alone. Because if everyone came with their own load, then it means that everyone is going to get there very tired. And so to reduce that tiredness, let's come together, because let's have what is called a unity of purpose. Okay? Let's have what is called a unity of purpose. And so it is important to note that that unity of purpose is very, very okay. is very, very okay. Okay, to be able to help us to do this. Now, that is what is going to help these guys to do that job. Otherwise, without that, there will be serious problems. And that is why we have heard of what is called merry-go-round within our communities in Africa, in Kenya, and in most countries, whereby we say this weekend, we are going to give this amount of money to this person. The next weekend, we give to the other person. And so we keep on giving to people, going round and round, such that it's not easy for you to save money for that duration of time. But if people give you at a glance, you get that boom of it, and you can actually use it to do something. And that is one of the objectives. You are increasing the energy by coming together to do this. And the togetherness, guys, is what is applied or implemented within ether channels, because in ether channels, we are going to see the coming together or the togetherness of, let me just see if I can draw one simple thing here. Yeah, so let's say here, this is our two switches here. This is switch S, switch 1, and there's another switch here. All right, this is switch 2. So what spanning tree does is we are going to connect these two switches like this. 2, 3, 4, let's say 5. All right, let's say each of these links here is 1 Gbps. All right, each of the links is 1 Gbps. So instead of traffic moving from switch S1 to S2 or S2 to S1, traffic moving independently at 1 Gbps, 1 Gbps, 1 Gbps, 1 Gbps, 1 Gbps. We bring up this guy called EtherChannel. And what do? We configure the end of this switch S2 and the end of this switch S1 to combine these 5 links here. Okay, we configure the two switches to combine these 5 links into just one link, so that traffic is not sent separately into each and every link. No, we want these physical links here to be combined into just one logical link. One link with what speed? A speed of 1 Gbps here times 5, which is going to have a speed of 5 Gbps, 5 gigabit per second. Let me give you another example. You want to install wireless networks within your area, or within, let's say maybe within the school, okay? And so you want to buy different, let's say 2 Mbps speed of the internet. So you buy from this vendor 2 Mbps, you buy from this vendor 2 Mbps, you buy from this vendor 2 Mbps. So you have access points providing very low speeds of 2222. Maybe you have 5 of them. What if you go to one vendor with good speed, and instead of buying 2222 times 5, you buy from one vendor 10 Mbps? How about that? That obviously will serve you better than having 2222. And so in EtherChannel, which is implemented in switches, routers, even access points, and wireless routers, you And for wireless, I think they do that using another gadget there. You combine physical links into one logical link of 5 Gbps. That is a very high speed. So that when traffic is moving from switch S2 to S1, it's not going to be moving in 111. No, it's going to move in one logical link. Actually, the switches will not see these 5 links. It is you who, as your own human naked eyes, that will see the 5 links from the outside. But the switches from inside will only see one link, which has a higher speed of 5 Gbps, 5 gigabit per second. If there are Mbps, if you are having 1 Mbps or 100 Mbps, 100 Mbps, we'll now have 500 Mbps speed. And that is the work of the ether channel, increasing the bandwidth between any two devices to improve the speed between those particular devices. And that is all about ether channels. That is what we are going to now learn about, how to do it and how does it happen and what are some of the disclaimers. And so let's jump into this. This is going to be very brief before we can end this. So on the operation of of ether channel, and of course you'll realize that ether channel works with spanning tree at some point. We are going to, we actually call it some kind of link aggregation protocol because we aggregate, we bring the links together, all right? And so the major objective is always to increase the bandwidth. And so grouping of these multiple physical Ethernet links together into one logical link. And this has so many advantages, one of which is called fault tolerance because of the, of course, redundancies there. There's load sharing. There's, of course, increased bandwidth, and this cause the redundancy I've already talked about. And so you combine the number of physical links between switches to increase the overall speed between the switches, Now, when you combine the links together, and we now call it an ether channel, we no longer see it as two different channels. The new port created for combining all those ports, we call it a port channel interface. In fact, if you want to get into that interface, you'll say interface port-channel 1. Of course, you give them numbers, okay? It is a virtual channel, a virtual port. It's not a physical port. It is a virtual port that is formed as a result of combining multiple physical ports. What are the rules of engagement here? Number one, when you're combining those physical links to form an ether channel, you can never mix the different types of interface types. If all of them are fast Ethernet, they have to be fast Ethernet. If all of them are gigabit Ethernet, they have to be only those. You cannot mix fast Ethernet and gigabit Ethernet. Point number two. For any ether channel, it can only carry up to 8 compatible ports. Only up to 8 ports can be combined, which means every particular ether channel can only have 800 Mbps or 8 Gbps, right? Because only 8 ports can be there. 8 compatible ports can be used or can be combined to form the ether channel. Point number three. Now, for the Catalyx 2960 layer 2 switch, it can only support up to 6 ether channels. You can only create up to 6 ether channels. Very, very important. Not more. So at least 6 or less. Okay. Then the group member ports must be consistent on both devices. If you're creating the channel between two switches, it has to be consistent between the two of them, and both of them must have the same. If you configure them with a trunk, both sides must have a trunk. Both must have the same VLAN allowed, and both ports must be configured on the layer 2 ports. They should not have IP addresses. That is okay. And anything you configure on that virtual port, it will affect all the ports on that particular ether channel. Anything you do on the ether channel affect all the ports that were used to combine that port. I mean that virtual port. Now, next thing, for the channel to be formed between two switches, there must be some negotiation between the two switches. There must be some negotiation between the two switches. That negotiation can only be done using two protocols. Only two protocols can do that negotiation. One of the protocols is a standard protocol available in the industry for all the device vendors, and one of them is from Cisco. All right, let's see which one is from Cisco now. So the one from Cisco is called PagP. You can see it here. And Cisco actually allows you to pronounce it as PagP. Cisco allows you to pronounce this as PagP, Port Aggregation Protocol. Port Aggregation Protocol, you can pronounce it as PagP. Then the other one for the general industry from IEEE is called Link Aggregation Control Protocol, LACP. LACP is the name. Some of my students call it lacp. I don't know where they got that name. If that is a name that can suit you, we can LACP, lacp, whatever that is. But lacp is not official, all right? It's not official by any standards. But both of them can actually be configured on the same device. The same device can carry one ether channel, but you cannot configure one end with LACP and one end with PagP. You can't do that. But if a switch has a channel going to another switch and another channel, ether channel going to another switch, one channel can carry PagP, the other one can carry LACP. All right. Now, let's talk about PagP. Let's talk about PagP, the port aggregation protocol. Now, PagP normally has has three mods. What am I talking about? 3 mods for PagP. But these 3 mods, they are not always 3. One of them is false because one of them is found in both PagP and LACP. And that's why the first one, which is called on is not always a very good one. I mean, because on is found in PagP and LACP. So when you set a port as on, it doesn't tell you whether you're using PagP or LACP. Why am I saying that? It's because during the course of your configurations, you will never use any command that has PagP or LACP. I repeat, you will never find a command that has the word PagP or LACP. The only words that tell you whether you're talking about PagP, for example, is either use the word desirable or auto. When you use the word desirable or auto, someone will know you're talking about PagP. But when you use on, because we'll also find it in LACP or LACP, someone will not know whether you're talking about PagP or LACP. And that's why this mod, it forces the interface to form an ether channel without PagP. Let me talk about desirable and auto. Now, one of the stories or the parable I like telling my students is that, let's take this as an example of, so the ladies who are here, please, I'm going to use the example of ladies, not in a bad way, but for learning purposes so that I can paint the picture more well. So let's say we have three ladies here, 3 ladies that we have. Now, one of the ladies is an independent lady. They go to work. They have their own monies. They have their own money. They earn their own salary. They can buy their own airtime to call their friends, and they're independent. So this lady, the first lady, she is capable of purchasing her own airtime, or okay, to make a call, but she has a good attitude. She has a very good heart. That's the first lady. And that lady is the lady we are calling the desirable lady, right? Then we have another lady. We call her the auto lady. The auto lady. This auto lady, she has a very good heart. She has a very good heart, very good attitude. And the only problem, and she's well mannered. The only problem is that this lady is very broke currently, unfortunately. And, you know, her mobile phone is never having airtime. But you can call her. I mean, she doesn't have a problem with that. You can call her if you have credit. If you are another lady, or, you know, or any other person, you're gonna call her. But if you want her to call you, you're gonna wait for long. You're gonna wait forever, you know, for her to call you. So the second lady, good-hearted, but no airtime on her phone, you know. Let's see. The third lady. The third lady is a no-nonsense lady. No airtime, no attitude. Okay. She has a very bad attitude, and she doesn't even have the airtime in the second place. And so my question to the floor again is, between these three ladies, give me, I'm going to give me any two groups of ladies who can easily communicate, and, you know, they can actually strike a conversation through the phone. Can I get the first attempt, please? Which is the first pair that can be able to communicate, you know, over the phone seamlessly and become friends? Okay. Let me hear this. Let me hear this from the class. Someone? Someone?
The lady with the airtime and the one that doesn't have airtime.
The lady with airtime and the one that does not have airtime. Very good. That's the first instance. That's the first instance. The one with the airtime, she can call. She can call the one without airtime, because the one without airtime is going to receive the calls very generously. Listen to this. What if the lady with airtime meets another lady with airtime and good-hearted? Will they strike a conversation? Can they, you know, call each other and talk? The lady with airtime meets a match of herself. Can they call each other? Can they, you know, form a friendship? They form a clique?
Sure.
Good, 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 good. Listen to this. Listen to this. The lady without airtime meets her own match. All of them good-hearted. Both of them no airtime. Okoa jahazi. They are overborrowed on their mobile phones. Can they communicate? Can they strike a conversation over the phone? Can they? Oh, guys are quiet.
Not at all.
They can't. They can't. Obviously, they can't, you know, because none of them is ready to call. Each of them requires to be called. And, you know, this is how, you know, this PagP. And by the same thing is going to be in LSCP. And so if you can get this very well, then the other one is going to be okay. And you realize that either of them, whether the lady with airtime meets one with a very bad attitude, they can't form any communication. The one without airtime meets one with a bad attitude, the on girl, they can't form any click or any conversation. And so the only time when we form a relationship, which we're calling the ether channel, okay, is when there's desirable airtime, good attitude, airtime, good attitude, or desirable and auto, good attitude, but one has no airtime. And so that is exactly what happens. If look at this table here, and there's one exception which I will talk about, this on thing here. I'm going to talk about it. Let's start at the bottom here. Auto, good attitude, no airtime, no airtime. These guys cannot form a channel, and that's why it's a no here. It's a no for both of them. Look at this. No airtime, good attitude. With airtime, good attitude. They form a channel. Good. Yeah. Good attitude, airtime. Good attitude, no airtime. They communicate. Yes, they do. Good attitude, airtime. Good attitude, airtime. They do form an ether channel here. Look at this. Bad attitude. When they meet someone with airtime and ready to call them, they can't form a channel. When they meet someone with a good attitude but no airtime, they can't be able to agree. So there's no channel form here. Now, when we meet these two people with bad attitudes, these people are bad news. The only way they can form a channel here is when the first issues, here, they form a channel, but this channel, it doesn't refer to PagP, all right? And that's why it is an exception. And that's a question that come to your exam. Create an ether channel between two switches without using any of the protocols. Then you use the command on, the on here. So the on does not refer to PagP. Why? Because we will also find on in LSCP. So please do mark that. It is not a contradiction, but it is a forceful way of forming the channel without PagP. And so when I talk about desirable and auto, we are talking about one side must be something, and you must configure one side to be something else for them to negotiate to form a channel. So the process of putting desirable and desirable, we are actually doing a negotiation process. Desirable and auto negotiate also to form a channel. Auto and negotiation negotiate and they form a channel. Auto and auto, they do not initiate anything because the only negotiation that happens is always initiated from the desirable side of the link. All right. Like I told you guys, as I promised you that LSCP, which is the IEEE standard, also has on here. Okay. It also has on, and this mode forces the interface to channel without LSCP. Look at that. Okay. And so it does not exchange any LSCP packets. And this is an odd one out here. But we have in LSCP, we also have here the lady with airtime and good attitude, and this time around we call it active. The other side we call it desirable. Then the lady without airtime and good attitude, this side we call it passive. All right? And so passive and active. You will never see a command written LSCP. You'll only use the command active and passive, okay, in LSCP, and then on is here. And so please know LSCP is active and passive, and know that PagP is desirable and auto. Someone is just going to tell you, configure LSCP, configure PagP. No one is gonna tell you to use active or passive. And that's why within your fingertips, you need to know desirable and auto, PagP. Passive and active is LSCP. And you can see the same thing here. Passive and passive, that is no airtime, but good attitudes. They cannot form any channel. But passive, good attitude, no airtime, with good attitude with airtime, they form a channel. Good attitude with airtime, good attitude without airtime, they form a channel. Active, all of them, good attitude, airtime, they form a channel. On with either of them do not form any channel, but you can force issues here between on without using any LSCP negotiation to form the channel here. All right. Now, the last thing I need to do is just to do the configurations. And I want us to basically look at how exactly how do we configure this that we call an ether channel. How do we configure an ether channel? And let's see that in a minute. Let's see how is it that is going to work. Now, like I told you, guidelines for the ether channel to be supported, I already told you, make sure same VLANs on both sides, same range of VLANs, make sure that the speeds and the duplex must be the same on both sides. And the number of course, the ports supported, so on and so forth. Now, these are the steps that we're going to be there, but I would like to, actually do it so that we guys can be able to see. But let me just take you through the steps here. Uh, uh, first here. Now, having talked about that, I want us to just see what we do. So, rule number one. Rule number one. Rule number one. Rule number one is to collect, or you need to specify the interfaces that you want to include in the channel. So specify your interfaces. If you need to set two interfaces, for example, always use the interface range. So you say interface range, fast Ethernet 1 to 5, fast Ethernet 1 to 10. But they say, remember, it can only be up to 8 of them, okay? So we are going to combine two ports here, fast Ethernet 1 and 2. So we say interface range, fast Ethernet or F0/1 to 2. Once you select the interfaces, then best practice, as we are going to be doing, best practice dictates that you need to shut those two interfaces, especially in a production network, because you're making some changes here. So the best thing to do is shut them down. Once you shut them down, then let me just make this bigger here. Once you shut the interfaces down, then it is now time to create the ether channel. And how do you do that? You say channel-group, channel-group. And remember, you can create up to 6 ether channels within this switch. So this number here can be any number from 1 to 6. So channel-group, put the group number there, then put mod. When you say mod, then look at this. This is the place that is going to dictate which ether channel mode are you using. So that if you use active or passive, you know you're talking about LSEP. If you use desirable or auto, then you know you are actually talking about PagP. Now listen to this, guys. Listen to this. Once you just press enter after saying channel group 1 mode active, this sentence or this notice is going to pop up within your device. It's going to tell you creating port channel, and the name of that port channel is now interface port channel 1. See that? Interface port channel 1. And we can now exit the range command here, and we can now get into that port channel interface, which combines 1 and 2 here, fast Ethernet. And we say interface port-channel 1. That is our new logical interface or virtual interface. And I can now configure it like any other port. I could now say switch port mode trunk. There's no way you can make it switch port mode access, because access ports are created connecting to the end devices. Switch port mode trunk, and you could say switch port trunk allowed VLAN 1, 2, 20. And you could even say switch port trunk native VLAN 99, for example. So you could just configure it like any other trunk ports, Guys, I want us to now do this. And of course, there'll be some work for you to do. You configure basic settings, configure ether channels with PagP, so on and so forth. Of course, just to finish this so that you can demonstrate that, show interfaces port channel command for verifications, show ether channel summary, show ether channel port channel 1, show interfaces ether channel, so on and so forth. Now, of course, make sure you check out some of these common issues that that we are going to also talk about while troubleshooting the ether channel. I want us to go to the main thing and let's do some configuration. We see how exactly this works here. Within the next 30 minutes, I think we should be done. We should be done within the next 30 minutes. STP has no labs, by the way. It's just theory. Most of the things have been taken straight to CCNP. All right. So if time is going to allow, we can do a PT there, but we start with the, we'll start with this one, the syntax checker here, and I can actually just zoom it in and make it to be bigger for us to see. All right, look at this. So we have this switch here, and we are actually just going to create an ether channel between these two switches for F01 and 2. All right. So we say enter interface range mode for F01, 2. I mean 1 and 2, and use FA0/1 and 2 as the interface designation. So we'll say here interface FA0/1. Be very careful in doing this syntax. You must put a space after 0/1, put a hyphen, put a space, then put 2 and press enter. I missed something. I was supposed to say interface range FA0/1, /1 space hyphen space 2. That's okay. They wanted to use the context sensitive help command, the question mark, to display the options available for channel group. So you must start by saying channel hyphen group. Put a space, put question mark, and press enter. It tells me that I can only create. This is how you use the shift and question mark, by the way, only that I'm doing it manually. I can get up to 6 channels, 1 to 6 group numbers there. So I need now to select channel group 1 and display the next option. So I'll say channel group 1, put a space, put question mark at enter. And I need to put the mode. So enter the mode keyword for the next and get the next options. Say channel hyphen group 1 mode, put a space and put question mark, and I press enter. And look at this. I only have these 5 modes here, whereby active and passive are LSCP, whereby active is LSP unconditionally and passive is LSCP only if the other side is active or the other side is an LCP device. Desirable, LSCP, PagP unconditionally. Auto is enable PagP only if the other side is desirable, that is, it's a PagP device. That's what they need. On is enable ether channel only without any PagP or LSCP. All right. So let's do what? Let's now configure the ether channel group to use LSCP unconditionally. That is LSCP with active. To say channel hyphen group 1 mod is going to be active now. You can see that. LSCP unconditionally. And I press enter. And they need me to do one thing. They now tell me configure the switch settings for the port channel that was created. Enter the interface configuration mode for port channel 1. So we'll say interface port hyphen channel 1. All right. Then configure the port channel as trunk. Say switch port mod trunk. Enter. Then they need me to allow VLANs 1, 2, and 20 across the trunk link. And they need me to enter VLANs as shown with no spaces. So I'll say switch port trunk allowed VLAN 1, 2, 20. And you're good to go. And we're good to go. All right. All right. Let me now, having seen that, and that is something you could actually work on by yourself. It's found on, you find that on page 623 of our pages. So let me see this one here. This is a very interesting one here. I can zoom it in so that you could see it better. Okay. And so we are going to work on this pretty much. We do not have so much time, just for 12 minutes to go. And so the instructions here, you can see them here, if you may, that configure the switch basic settings, configure EtherChannel with Cisco PagP, configure an 802.3AD LSCP EtherChannel, configure a redundant EtherChannel link. And so looking at the diagram here, okay, you realize you have 3 port channels. Port channel 1 is for PagP between S1 and 3. Port channel 2 is between S1 and S2. And port channel 3 is using LSCP, active and passive, connecting S2 and S3. And so we're going to jump right into it. And the commands have actually been provided here for you guys. Very interesting. So let's start with the S1. I might not follow all the instructions because of time, but because I know them, so I could just move on. So I go to the global configuration mode, and the first thing I need to do is to give this switch a name. So I'm gonna say host name, this is S1, right? And you can see I have 2 marks over there. And I need to bundle some ports here. I've just been told that you can see a very good example, as I've shown you guys here, is that first we need to select the ranges, shut them down, create the channel, and then say no shutdown. That is always the procedure. That is always the best practice. So what are we going to do? Look at this. We start with port channel 1. Port channel 1 is between switch S1 and switch S3. Now, before I do that, I need to show you one more thing. I need to use what is called the knowledge of spanning tree to show you something so that you are able to relate and to basically be able to see that. So let's see, just say, do show spanning tree summary. Spanning tree, do show spanning tree, yeah. When I say do show spanning tree, look at what we are able to see here. Currently, this is switch S1, and I'm gonna need to just be able to show you in a manner that you can be able to see everything. All right. Here we go. Oh, okay. Here we go. Switch S1 has 2 ports here, G01 and G02. We can see both of them here. G02 is here and G01 is here. Yeah. Look at this from spanning tree. G01 is actually an alternate port. You can see G01 is actually amber in our diagram, which means it's actually blocked. It's an alternate state, and it's actually in blocking state. The role is alternate, and the status is it's blocked. And you can see it's actually blocked here. And you see the same thing with G02. G02 is here, the lower one, which is also blocked in alternate state. Then F022 is also alternate, is blocked. F022, you can see the lower one here is actually blocked, alternate state. Look at this. Look at the G01 and 2. What are their costs? Their cost is 4. We just learned that today. Their cost is 4. But the ones for fast Ethernet, their costs here are 19. All right. But of course, F021 is green here. It's blinking green. And it's actually a root port. And all root port and all designated ports are always in forwarding state. Look at that. Look at just seeing, and you'll see the same thing within a real switch. You'll see the same statistics. All right. Which means clearly this switch is not a root bridge. Remember, you can still have the privilege. You still have the privilege to see the 4 ports as we are seeing here. A time is coming when you are only going, a time is coming when you are only going to see only 2 ports here. And they're not going to be fast Ethernet or gigabit Ethernet. We're going to combine these 2 ports here into one. Now, let's look at another switch before we come to configure this guy here. Let me minimize S1. S3 seems to have all its ports are active, unlike S2, which has one of the ports is actually alternate port. So let me go to just a minute, guys. I want to show you everything. If this port was the root port, we could have seen a sentence here down here, which we are now going to see in a short while. Let's look at S3. Look at S3. Look at S3. And so looking at S3, and we need to give it a host name. So host name is S3. And you say do show spanning -tree. Look at this. Look at how wonderful this is. Before I even go there, look at this. Look at this. This bridge is the root, which means this switch S3 is actually the root bridge. That's why it tells us this bridge is the root. What is the priority? 32769. What is the MAC addresses here? All right. This is 32769 because the default is 32768 plus 1 to make it 32769. I still don't know what was used, the criteria, but I highly think it is the MAC addresses that were used for the election of the root bridge. All right, let's go down here, guys. Look at this. All the ports are designated, all of them. This must only happen on a root bridge, and that's why all of them are in forwarding state. All of them in forwarding state. Look at the port costs, all of them 19, because they are all fast Ethernet ports. All right, the last switch, switch S2. Switch S2 is right here. And I just need to give it a name as well. All right, look at this. So I say host name is S2, right? And I say here, do show span, I just say span, and it's gonna bring that. Obviously, one port is alternate being blocked, and there you go. And the others are designated, and this bridge, this is not the root bridge, clearly. It's not the root bridge here. Anyway, let me go to configure. I might not finish all of it. I'll just give you, the little bit so that, I know you guys are smart enough and the commands have been given for you here. You can actually do that. So let me configure the first port channel, which is port channel 1, joining S1 and S3, again, because of time. S1 and S3 is the port channel 1. They are going to use PagP, and they are going to use the active PagP. PagP is desirable. So the first thing we do, we say in, and by the way, look at which ports there, F021 and 22. So you say interface range F0/21 to 22. Then you say shut down. Then you say, did you see this here? Okay, we have not created the ether channel. You say channel hyphen group 1 mod, since we are doing mod for, and it's PagP channel group 1, as we said here, was PagP here. You can see the ports are red, they have gone off. Mod should be desirable. Mod should be desirable. Once you put desirable, look at my sentence. Creating port channel, interface port channel 1. Wonderful. We are good now. Then we need to say no shutdown to bring them up. Then we need to get into that port channel interface, which is port channel 1. We now say interface. We can exit maybe, but it's not a must. We say interface port hyphen channel 1, enter. We'll say switch port mod trunk. And that's all that we are supposed to do, right? Switch port mod trunk, all right? Then we need to go to the other side of this channel, which is 21, switch S3. Then we need to get here, and we need to say interface range F0/21 to 22. Okay. Enter. We shut them down. Okay. Then we create the channel hyphen group 1. It must be group 1 on both sides. And you say mod was supposed to be desirable. Desirable. And you press enter. And there you go. There you go. Creating our new port channel, and it's called port channel 1. We need to say no shutdown. And then you say interface. Interface port hyphen channel port channel 1, enter. You say switch port. No. Yes. Yeah, we already brought it up. It says switch port mod trunk, enter. Okay. Things are going to be changing here. You need to note that switch S3, of course, switch S1 has changed a few things. Look at the ports that are now opened. Now it's like the ports blocked have shifted to switch S2 because spanning tree is still working, but EtherChannel is working as well. So what do? Let's look at S3 and look at the ports we had seen previously. And I'm just gonna say show spanning tree. Oh my goodness. We were able to see that S3 is now not having 4 ports. Look at this. We have already combined F021 and 22, and now they are called PO1, which is port channel 1. And it is now being seen by this switch as one port, as a designated port. And it is in forwarding state, and even the cost has reduced. Yeah, has changed. It's no longer 19. The port cost for our port channel is 12. It is now being a shared port. We could say show EtherChannel summary, and you will see we have only one port channel here. SU means it's in use, and now this is where you see whether it's using PagP or not. All right, and that's very interesting here as a protocol. Very, very, very interesting. And the 2 ports combined on that channel is 21 and 22. All right, and you could go to S1 and see the same thing, that S1, we say show span tree. You can see now we no longer see F0, 21 and 22. We only see port channel, but G01 and G02 are still here. and they have their respective port states and port roles there. And this is a root port here. I don't know if I could just take a few minutes to do this, pretty much fast so that you see how it's done. That could help you guys, because I'm going to give you a similar exercise to do. And I don't want you to complain that I didn't do this. So let's do switch S1. We are now creating channel 2 between G01 and G02. And so we say int range G0/1 to 2. Tap. We say shutdown. They say channel -group 2 mod. Remember this side of G of switch S1, we are going to use lacp, active one. So lacp is active and passive. So we put here active. All right. Then we say no, shut down. Then you get it to interface port channel 2. You say switch port mod track. All right. That is done. We go to this other end of S2 and create the first channel here in S2. And we're gonna say interface range, G0 port channel 2 has all gigabit Ethernet, /1 to 2. You're going to experience this. Just press tabs key to prevent you from having some of those things. So enter, we shut them down. Yeah, then you create the say channel -group 2. Mod is still active, right? And you say no shut. And you say interface channel -group 2. What did I do there? Interface. Oh, interface port hyphen. Yeah, those two words are gonna be confusing. Channel group or port channel or ether channel. Here it's port channel. You can always look at it from where it was created. It's gonna tell you the name. We say switch port mod track. Good. And that's it. And we need to, on the same switch S2, we create channel group 3. Right? Channel group 3. And we say just exit here, say interface range. And for channel group 3, we're gonna be a bit careful because we are going to use lacp for channel group 3, but we use one side must be active and the other side should be passive. And that is told to us here for channel group 3. And we are told that on the side of S2 is going to be passive. All right, you can see all the instructions are here and all the commands are here. All right, so interface range F0/23 to 24. Shut. Okay. Channel -group channel group 3 mod should be passive. Boom. See no shut down. See interface port -channel 3 switch port mod trunk. Good. And we do the last channel on S3 here. And we go to the configuration terminal global and we pick interface range F0/23 to 24. Sorry, to 24. We shut them down. Then we say channel -group 3 mode is now going to be active. We say no shutdown. Then we say interface port hyphen channel 3 switch port mode trunk. Enter, and we are actually good to go. We can start by looking at, we are in S3. Let's look at just a few minutes and we'll be done, guys. Maybe 3 or something like that. So we'll say here, show span. Look at that. No physical interfaces at all, just port channel 3 and port channel 1. That is for S3, okay? And you'll be surprised who is currently the root bridge. I think it should be S2. If you go to S2 here, and in S2, we say show span. Look at that. Port channel 2, oh, it's not even port channel 2. It's actually spanning tree was sending the BPDUs, and is actually S3 where we are from a few seconds ago. And this guy is actually in designated and root ports, all of them forwarding. Let's take the journey back to switch S3 and look at S3. Show span and gives us this bridge is the root here because all of its ports are active. And now it only has port channel 3 and port channel 1. Okay, if you say show EtherChannel summary, and we realize that we have 2 EtherChannel summary, port channel 1 and port channel 3, all of them in use. One is using PagP and one using lacp, and these are the specific ports available right there. That should be clear enough. This guy might look like a designated as root bridge, but it is not, because it has a root port somewhere here. Look at this guy now. Look at something new before we go. Since the ports are being blocked as a ether channel, not as individual ports, this time round we only have one ether channel blocked. All the others are actually in forwarding state. So going here in S1, and we say show spanning tree, only port channel 2 is being blocked. Look at this, because we no longer have the physical port. They have been banded together. They have been aggregated together to form one port, and only one port channel is being blocked, which is port channel 2. Port channel 1 is in forwarding state. It's a root port. And show EtherChannel to EtherChannel summary, and you can see that the summary of the ports here are actually here. So guys, finally, let me give you work to do. So work number 1 that you guys are going to be doing is work taking the syntax checker. So 623, please, Leonida, note that 623 syntax checker, 624, all right, 634, 634, 634, please note that down. And the last one is 641, 641. That is the last assignment. Please, if you can be able to do those very, very well, then just know, I mean, you have known how to do that. And when a time will come, to do this on real devices, we will be home and dry. So please learn to do them on the PTs and make sure you are good at them. Otherwise, I think that is the end of our class today. It's been a long class, but it's been a lesson full of learning. And I will now request let's end it there, and let's do some of those activities.